The hum of Earth's defenses was interrupted by the shrill, otherworldly shriek of an approaching fleet. It wasn't the usual flare of a comet or the familiar movements of deep space debris. This was different. This was a warship, massive, sleek, and unmistakably alien. And it wasn't coming to trade or explore. It was coming to end humanity. The Galactic Empire had arrived. Jordan Avery, a young human diplomat, sat in her office in the newly constructed United Earth Embassy, her hands clenched around the briefing papers. The message was clear. The Empire had issued their ultimatum: surrender or perish. But what they didn't understand, what none of the Empire's leaders seemed capable of grasping, was that humans didn't surrender. Not when it mattered. Not when survival was on the line. Jordan had spent her entire career navigating the minefields of intergalactic diplomacy. But this was different. She had read the reports. She had watched the devastation the Empire had wrought on countless worlds, their unyielding march across the galaxy. They were relentless, efficient, and brutal. Entire civilizations had vanished in their wake, their ruins left as silent testimonies of the Empire's might. And yet, they didn't know humanity. The door to her office hissed open. General Cade, the grizzled veteran who commanded Earth's combined military forces, stepped inside. He was dressed in his customary tactical uniform, his face set in grim determination. Behind him, an entourage of high-ranking military officers followed, each one radiating the quiet tension of a people preparing for war. "You've read the message, I assume," Cade said, his voice as cold as the metal walls of the embassy. Jordan nodded. She had. And it wasn't good. "Their fleet is already in our system. They'll be at the moon's orbit in hours. No time for pleasantries, Jordan. You need to get there and speak to them." She stood, her legs suddenly feeling like they were made of lead. She knew this moment would come. All diplomats did. There were always those moments when negotiation was the only option. Or at least it was supposed to be. But this was different. "I'm not sure they'll listen," she said, her voice tight. "The Empire doesn't negotiate. They've destroyed worlds without a second thought." Cade gave her a hard look. "That's why you're going, Avery. You're not just any diplomat. You're the one person who might make them listen. You understand them." She didn't answer right away. Her thoughts raced, flickering between the mission and the haunting images of what the Empire had done. The whispers that reached Earth through the covert channels were filled with horrors. Countless planets, each one an ember, snuffed out without a flicker of resistance. And now they were coming for Earth. The tension in the room was palpable. As much as the humans tried to prepare for the worst, nothing could truly ready them for the sheer scale of the threat. The Empire was vast. It was a machine built for war, and they had never encountered a species quite like humanity before. But then again, neither had the Empire. They had failed to realize that Earth wasn't like the other conquered worlds. Humanity wasn't going to bend. Not in the face of extinction. Cade's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "We need someone they'll listen to. You have a way with words. More importantly, you have the conviction to make them understand that if they want Earth, they'll have to take it and pay for it." Jordan squared her shoulders, her heart pounding in her chest. "I'll go," she said, the words coming out more resolutely than she felt. "But make no mistake, General. I won't ask for mercy. I'll give them one warning, one shot at peace. After that, they'll understand exactly why humanity can't be broken." Cade nodded. "Then make it count." As the doors closed behind her, Jordan felt the weight of the universe settling on her shoulders. The Empire's fleet was mere hours away, and with each passing moment, Earth's fate grew darker. She stepped into the waiting transport shuttle, her mind racing. What could she say to a people who had conquered civilizations without a second thought? What words could make them see that Earth wasn't just another easy target? The shuttle lifted off, heading for the heart of the threat. As they passed Earth's outer defenses, Jordan glanced at the vast expanse of space. The stars looked so distant, so indifferent. And then the communication console beeped. A message flashed on the screen, its icy, impersonal words chilling her to the bone. "Your warning is noted. prepare for extinction. The final words of the Galactic Empire. The Empire had underestimated humanity. That was the last mistake they would ever make. Jordan Avery watched from the bridge of the warship as the massive Empire fleet loomed ominously in the distance. Their ships were elegant, towering monuments to the power the Empire wielded across the galaxy. They expected humanity to tremble before them, to fold under the weight of their arrogance. But as Jordan's eyes swept across the human fleet that now stood between Earth and annihilation, a strange confidence stirred within her. Earth wasn't going down without a fight. In fact, they weren't going down at all. Humanity's hidden strength. The Empire believed Earth was nothing more than a young, undeveloped species, a primitive force that could be easily crushed by superior technology. They were wrong. The human race had spent centuries scraping by, surviving, adapting, learning. They had endured the worst the universe had to offer, and their greatest weapon was their ingenuity. The Galactic Empire's dismissive attitude would be their downfall. On the ground, General Cade paced, analyzing the situation with sharp eyes. His mind was always 2 steps ahead. There was something about the way the Empire's tactics and strategy were laid out that didn't sit right with him. They were predictable, cold, too reliant on their overwhelming numbers and technology. The Empire had no idea how dangerous a cornered human could be. Are we really going to let them think they've already won? Cade asked, his voice sharp. Jordan straightened. We're not. But we need to show them we're not like the other planets they've conquered. We fight differently. We think differently. Cade nodded, eyes narrowing. And that's what will save us. The infiltration plan, the real power of humanity, Cade knew, wasn't in their military might alone. It was in their ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. That was the secret the Empire had failed to grasp. As their fleets advanced, the human forces worked tirelessly to deploy something the Empire wasn't prepared for, a weapon capable of disrupting the Empire's advanced technology. The Empire's fleets relied heavily on their AI systems, and these systems were vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses, something Earth had perfected just weeks before the first encounter. But the weapon wasn't the only surprise. The humans had another ace up their sleeve, a series of covert missions carried out by the elite special forces, humanity's most capable and ruthless warriors. Trained for high-stakes sabotage, covert ops, and guerrilla warfare, these soldiers were humanity's response to the Empire's expectations. They didn't rely on overwhelming firepower alone. They relied on precision, stealth, and the ability to outthink their enemies. The Special Forces had been preparing for this moment since the first signs of the Empire's approach. And now, as the Empire's fleet entered Earth's orbit, they would strike. As the first salvo of energy weapons from the Empire's fleet tore through Earth's outer defenses, the human military didn't panic. Instead, they initiated the next phase of their plan, a global network of EMP devices hidden in plain sight, underground bunkers, abandoned satellites, and old space stations. When activated, these devices would cause massive disruptions to the Empire ships, rendering their AI systems vulnerable and sending their advanced weapons systems into chaos. General Cade was well aware of the stakes. The EMPs were Earth's last line of defense, a gamble that could either cripple the Empire's fleet or leave humanity exposed to complete destruction. But there was no other choice. If they failed, Earth would be at the mercy of the Empire. If they succeeded, they might just stand a chance. Jordan turned to Cade, her voice steady but resolute. It's not just about stopping them. It's about showing them they can't break us. We're going to show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. Cade met her gaze. I hope you're right. The first strike. As the humans launched their first counterattack, it was nothing like the Empire's calculated, cold precision. The human military struck with unorthodox methods, hacking into enemy comms, disabling key systems, and launching targeted strikes against the weakest points in the Empire's fleet. The human forces didn't need to win every battle. They just needed to show the Empire that they could hit back, that Earth wouldn't fold under their might. And the Empire wasn't prepared for that. On the battlefield, Earth's special forces infiltrated the Empire's ships with surgical precision. These were not the kind of soldiers who fought for honor or glory. They fought to survive. As the Empire's forces scrambled to counter the sudden onslaught, it became clear. Humanity wasn't here to negotiate anymore. They were here to make the Empire bleed. But as the first wave of human strikes began to take effect, something unexpected happened. A massive, encrypted message from the Empire's command ship crackled through the airwaves. The Empire wasn't just angry, they were enraged. The message, though brief, left no doubt about their intentions. You have made a grave mistake. Prepare for the end. Jordan's pulse quickened. The Empire had made its move, and now there would be no turning back. As the message faded, the sound of approaching Imperial warships filled the air. This time, there would be no more warnings. The real battle was about to begin. The first wave of the Empire's retaliation hit Earth with the force of a tidal wave. Their ships loomed like dark, unyielding giants, and their weapons burned through space with terrifying precision. But as the firestorm raged, one undeniable truth settled into the hearts of every human watching. Earth wasn't the helpless prey the Empire had thought it was. They had awakened something in humanity, a force the Empire could never have anticipated. The Empire's opening strike was meant to crush Earth's defenses with overwhelming force, a classic tactic designed to break the spirit of any civilization. But what they didn't account for was the human spirit, the refusal to surrender, even in the face of extinction. As their warships unleashed torrents of laser fire, humanity didn't cower. They retaliated with everything they had, each defense system, every fighter jet, and each underground weapons facility working together to create a jagged, unpredictable defense that the Empire was unprepared for. General Cade's strategy had been simple but effective. Don't try to match the Empire's power with more power. Instead, use human ingenuity. They knew Earth's technology couldn't outgun the Empire's, so they'd made sure the Empire didn't have a chance to use their own weapons effectively. Massive electromagnetic pulses, disguised as routine debris, exploded at key points in the Empire's fleet. The weapons that had once seemed unstoppable sputtered, faltered, and then fell silent. It wasn't just a defense, it was a shock to the invaders. The Empire's advanced ships, so reliant on their precision and automated systems, suddenly found themselves blind and vulnerable. The chaos was palpable. For the first time since they'd arrived, the Empire's forces hesitated. As the Empire's fleet scrambled to recover, Earth's counterattack erupted. Fighter jets piloted by human soldiers darted through space, unpredictable and fast, using the Empire's own confusion to strike. They didn't fight with the Empire's methodical coldness. They fought like cornered animals, quick to exploit any weakness, ruthless in their pursuit of victory. But it wasn't just Earth's military that was engaged. Humanity's vast network of civilians had been mobilized. People from every corner of the planet, from the smallest villages to the largest cities, contributed in whatever way they could. Scientists worked on new weapons, engineers created makeshift defenses, and even ordinary citizens helped with the logistics of moving troops, supplies, and vital equipment. Jordan Avery, still stationed at the warship's bridge, watched it all unfold. Her mind raced, but she couldn't afford to be distracted by the scale of the battle. She was the voice of humanity, now, the one the Empire needed to listen to. And she had one final warning left to deliver. But there was no time for speeches anymore. As Earth's military unleashed its fury, the true weight of humanity's resilience was embodied in the Special Forces. These elite soldiers had been training for moments like this for years, learning to fight in any terrain, using every advantage and every resource at their disposal. They didn't follow the rules of warfare the Empire played by. The Special Forces used unconventional methods, hitting the Empire where they least expected it, their supply lines, their communications, and their weak points. The Empire had assumed that once their ships were in orbit, the fight was all but won. But humanity's ability to adapt quickly, to find gaps in the Empire's defenses and exploit them, was proving to be a nightmare for the invaders. With surgical precision, the Special Forces infiltrated one of the Empire's flagship vessels. The mission was clear: disable their command center, cripple their fleet's coordination, and send a message. But as they moved deeper into the heart of the enemy ship, they discovered something that made the stakes even higher. What they thought were routine weapon systems were, in fact, something far worse. A weapon capable of wiping out entire cities in a single strike. The team's lead commander, Sergeant Mendez, made the call. Destroy it or face Earth's destruction. The team worked swiftly, planting explosives to take down the weapon before it could be deployed. The tension was unbearable. Every second felt like an eternity. And with each explosion that reverberated through the ship, it became clear the Empire had underestimated Earth's will to survive. Just as the last charge was set, an unexpected transmission blasted through their comms. "You think you can stop us?" The voice was cold, almost mocking. "You've only delayed the inevitable." Before Sergeant Mendez could respond, a blinding flash of light filled the room. The special forces were thrown to the ground, their mission hanging in the balance. The Empire had retaliated, but this time it wasn't with their weapons. It was something far more insidious. And for the first time in this conflict, humanity realized something terrifying. The Empire wasn't just interested in conquering Earth. They were determined to annihilate it. The Empire had thrown its worst at Earth. But they made one critical error. They never expected humans to keep fighting after they had nothing left to lose. The first wave of retaliation had sent Earth's forces scrambling, but they hadn't broken. Instead, something far more dangerous had been awakened, a cold, calculated fury that surged through every human who had ever been told they couldn't win. Now, the Empire was beginning to understand just how far humanity would go to protect its home. Humanity's defiance. The war had taken a brutal toll, but humanity had not surrendered. In fact, the longer the Empire pushed, the more united the human race became. They fought not just with their technology, but with every ounce of their spirit, every shred of their will to survive. This was no longer just a battle for Earth. It was a war for their very existence. And humanity's fight was relentless. General Cade paced the command center, his mind working furiously. The Empire had assumed that once they destroyed Earth's outer defenses, the rest would fall like dominoes. But they had failed to recognize the core of humanity. Resilience. Earth's forces were fragmented, yes, but they were fighting with the fury of a species that knew it had no other choice. "We've got one shot at turning this around," Cade said, his voice grim but unwavering. "If we can hit them where it hurts, we might just push them back." Jordan Avery, standing at his side, nodded. She could see the intensity in his eyes. Earth's military had to move quickly, and they had to strike hard. It was no longer just about repelling the Empire. It was about showing them that humanity would not bend to their will. If the Empire wanted Earth, they would have to pay for it, and they would pay dearly. The hidden enemy. But as Cade was making plans to launch Earth's final offensive, Jordan received an encrypted message from one of their spies deep within the Empire's fleet. It was a critical piece of intelligence. The Empire wasn't just interested in defeating Earth. They had another, far darker agenda. They had been harvesting human technology, studying human combat tactics, and even testing human genetic adaptability in secret. The Imperial leadership had known about humanity's unique capacity for survival, and they had already begun making plans to breed soldiers from the survivors they intended to enslave. The horror of it was clear. Earth was a test ground, not just for conquest, but for the Empire's experiments. And Jordan knew that if the Empire was allowed to succeed, humanity would be nothing more than a cog in their war machine. "This ends now," she muttered to herself. The battle for survival. As Earth's forces prepared to strike back, the Empire launched another barrage at the planet's core cities. The Empire believed this would break humanity's resolve, but what they hadn't anticipated was the speed at which Earth adapted. Every city, every military base had been preparing for this moment, stockpiling weapons and developing new technologies designed specifically to counteract the Empire's overwhelming firepower. In the field, the Special Forces launched a series of sabotage operations against the Empire's key strongholds. These weren't just coordinated assaults. They were calculated strikes meant to cripple the Empire's ability to command and control their forces. It was guerrilla warfare at its finest. using speed and surprise to disrupt the Empire's operations. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, civilians had risen in ways no one had expected. While the military fought back in the skies and on the ground, ordinary humans, scientists, engineers, and even children had begun to work together to repair the damage, develop makeshift defenses, and put everything they had into the survival effort. It was chaos, but it was beautiful chaos. The Empire's well-oiled war machine had encountered the unpredictable force of a species that had never known defeat, and they were quickly realizing they were not prepared for the unpredictable. The Empire strikes back, but as the battle raged on, a new threat emerged. The Empire's top commanders had realized that they couldn't just keep attacking Earth's defenses. They had to eliminate humanity's will to fight. To do this, they turned to something even darker than their previous weaponry. They activated Project Oblivion, a weapon designed not to destroy cities, but to break minds. It was a psychological weapon, capable of disorienting the entire human race through a combination of overwhelming propaganda, mind-altering frequencies, and fear tactics. The Empire had perfected it on other worlds, and now they planned to use it to fracture humanity's resolve once and for all. When the first broadcast went out, it was nothing like the humans had expected. It wasn't a military announcement or a threat. It was a deeply personal message to every citizen on Earth, tailored to exploit their deepest fears and doubts. The Empire knew how to break hearts, to manipulate the human psyche with terrifying precision. But what they hadn't accounted for was humanity's ability to resist even the deepest psychological warfare. The moment the broadcast ended, there was silence. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, from every corner of Earth, a single message flashed across every screen. We are Earth. We will not fall. The broadcast wasn't just a counterattack, it was a declaration. The Empire had awakened something even more dangerous than they realized. And as the lights flickered on Earth's war-torn streets, humanity's defiance surged to new heights. The Empire had just made its gravest mistake. The Empire had underestimated humanity every step of the way. Now, as their fleets gathered for the final assault on Earth, they would face the one thing they couldn't anticipate: a people willing to sacrifice everything to protect their home. The time for warnings had passed. Now Earth was prepared for war in its most primal form, every human, every soldier, every civilian, bound together by a single purpose: survival. The air was thick with tension at Earth's Central Command Station. General Cade stood at the head of a massive table, the weight of the coming battle heavy in his eyes. The Empire had advanced too far. They had hit Earth's cities, crippled much of the infrastructure, and destroyed key military installations. But Cade knew that humanity wasn't finished. We hit them hard. We make it count, he said, his voice unwavering. We may not have the numbers, but we've got the will. We've got the fight. Around him, Earth's best and brightest military leaders nodded, each understanding the gravity of the situation. The last strike needed to be swift and decisive. They had one shot to cripple the Empire's command ship, one shot to turn the tide of the war in humanity's favor. Jordan Avery, now a central figure in the war effort, stepped forward. She had been working tirelessly behind the scenes, coordinating intelligence and supply routes, ensuring Earth's fighters had everything they needed for the final stand. She had seen the destruction, the desperation in people's eyes, but she also saw the fire. It was the same fire that had burned in the hearts of every human who had faced impossible odds and refused to surrender. We've developed a new weapon, she said, pointing to a holographic display of the Empire's command ship. We can infiltrate their systems and deliver a crippling blow, but we need to act fast. If we don't strike now, they'll destroy what's left of Earth. Cade's gaze fixed on the image of the command ship. The Empire's flagship, the Valiant Eclipse, was enormous, its weapons capable of obliterating entire continents. Humanity's chances of victory seemed slim, but as always, there was no choice but to push forward. The final assault, Earth's forces were ready, and as they launched the final assault on the Empire's fleet, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Fighters and bombers, once outmatched by the Empire's superior firepower, now fought with desperation and unparalleled precision. The Empire had no idea what they were walking into. Earth's counterattacks were no longer random strikes. They were coordinated, with every ship and soldier moving like a single organism, all fighting to keep Earth alive. The battlefield in space was chaos, ships weaving in and out of laser fire, explosions lighting up the dark expanse of the cosmos. Earth ships, though smaller and less advanced than the Empire's, fought with a ferocity that shocked the Empire's commanders. Humanity had adapted to the chaos of battle, using guerrilla tactics, unexpected ambushes, and brute force where necessary. General Cade, aboard the flagship Sovereign Fury, watched as the fleet engaged the Empire's forces. He knew the plan was risky, but it was the only chance they had. The Special Forces had infiltrated the Empire's command ship, planting charges in the critical areas of its control systems. The weapon that would turn the tide was ready to deploy, but the clock was ticking. The final battle was fast approaching. Earth's forces were pushing the Empire back, but the valiant Eclipse remained a threat. If the Empire's flagship wasn't disabled, all of humanity's efforts would be in vain. As the fight raged on, a new transmission cut through the chaos, a message from the Empire's high command. It was direct and chilling. Your resistance is futile. The destruction of Earth is imminent. The transmission was meant to break the human resolve, to show them the futility of their fight. But instead, it had the opposite effect. The human response was not one of fear or surrender. It was one of defiance. The message that came back was simple but profound. You will regret underestimating us. The broadcast spread across Earth like wildfire, igniting every last ounce of human determination. From every corner of the planet, people stood up, rallied together, and fought like they had nothing to lose, because they didn't. Their homes, their families, their future were at stake. On the battlefield, the tide was turning. The Sovereign Fury and its allies closed in on the valiant Eclipse, the Empire's flagship, as it prepared to unleash its devastating weapon. But just as Earth's forces closed in, an explosion rocked the Sovereign Fury, a devastating blow from an unexpected source. A massive Imperial warship had flanked their position, and in the blink of an eye, Earth's final hope was on the brink of collapse. The battle was far from over. The Empire thought they had won. But in the final moments, they learned a lesson they would never forget. Humanity never gives up, no matter the odds. The Empire's warship loomed over Earth, its weapons primed to obliterate everything below. But in that final crucial instant, when all seemed lost, the impossible happened. As the Sovereign Fury was torn apart by enemy fire, General Cade's voice rang out through the chaos. We fight for Earth. We fight to the end. His command was more than words. It was a rallying cry that resonated with every soldier, every fighter, every human who had witnessed the onslaught and refused to bow. Despite the losses, despite the overwhelming odds, humanity refused to surrender. On Earth, civilians and military personnel alike took to the streets, to the skies, to the darkest corners of their world. The Special Forces had done their job. They had crippled the Empire's flagship. But the final blow required more than sabotage. It required one last, desperate push. The weapon they had been waiting for, the one that would change the tide of the war, had been in the works for weeks. It wasn't a weapon of mass destruction. It was something far more human. The Redemption Strike, a missile designed to target the heart of the Empire's fleet, had been launched from Earth's last remaining space station. The missile wasn't just powered by technology. It was powered by human will. Every component, every soldier's sacrifice, every moment of survival was encoded into its core. It was a message, not just to the Empire, but to the universe itself. Humanity would not be erased. The missile streaked through space, an unstoppable force aimed directly at the valiant Eclipse. The Empire's flagship was too large, too overconfident to expect it. As the missile pierced the hull, the shock wave that followed shattered the remaining Imperial fleets in the vicinity. In the aftermath of the explosion, the Empire's forces began to crumble. The valiant Eclipse had been the linchpin of their entire strategy, and with its destruction, their command structure fractured. The once unified fleet now splintered into chaos, their leadership shattered. Inside the flagship, The surviving Imperial commanders could only watch as their fleets fell apart, their last vestiges of control slipping away. There would be no reinforcements, no backup. Earth had won. As the remaining Imperial warships retreated, Earth's forces didn't celebrate. They knew the true cost of the victory, but they had sent a message, one that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. The Empire, once the greatest power in the galaxy, had underestimated humanity, and in doing so, they had sparked their own downfall. From Earth's remaining fleets, a final broadcast was sent out, this time to the galaxy at large. Humanity stands, and we stand together. No empire, no force, no god will ever make us bow. The broadcast spread across the stars. The message was clear. Humanity had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same again. As Earth celebrated its hard-won victory, a distant signal broke through the quiet. Another message, encrypted and urgent, from beyond the edges of the galaxy. The sender was unknown, the contents unclear. But one thing was certain. The war with the Empire might be over, but a new chapter in humanity's story was about to begin.